further north than I am, so.
Vale, perfecto, muy bien. Y muy buenas noches. ¿Cómo están todos? ¿Están bien?
Sí,
Muy bien.
Ok, vale, bien, fantástico. Hoy es la última clase del invierno. Okay, so today is the last class of winter session. Just a reminder. So don't expect a Zoom invitation for next week because next week will be a week off. Y para que sepan so that you guys know, next week is a week off, but right away, the week of April 1st, it'll start up all the spring classes. So, yeah, we'll be seeing you after tonight. We'll be seeing you the first week of April. In case you have any other classes lined up as well. Lots of folks in other kind of athletic classes or swimming or lo que sea, whatever, fun classes. Hoy vamos a practicar con leer también un poquito. We're going to do a little more reading with our little article. Our article on desconectarse, disconnecting. Yeah, so pretty soon we'll be doing that. We'll take any questions you had on the various videos. I hope you enjoyed the cute little song video from last week. And okay, and hopefully we'll get a couple things to squeeze a couple extra items in. Vale. Primero. First, I want to show a few examples. This is sort of a carryover from last week. The guy who had our video on how words blend into each other. I want to show you just a couple of examples, and I'll send you the link to the whole video if you're really into the nerdy thing of seeing like tons and tons of examples of it. You can see more, but we're going to look at just probably 2 examples of how listening can prove kind of challenging, but you have to think about how the words connect. Look at my sound plugged in here. This will probably take us 5 minutes. He's going to show, he's going to demonstrate a guy talking, and let's see if you can tell. This is going to be not even a whole sentence, but a phrase, and see if you can tell how the words slide together here. Ooh.
Derecha izquierda o toca 2 veces a la izquierda de la
It's giving
pantalla
directions here.
para volver a escucharla.
Lo que los seres humanos hacen.
That's it. And he's going to replay this like 3 times.
Escuchemos otra vez.
Lo que los seres humanos hacen.
And that blip was the phonetic spelling. Let's try to track it back enough.
Para volver a escucharla.
Lo que los seres humanos hacen.
Escuchemos otra vez.
Lo que los seres.
Here's the phonetic. Lo que los seres humanos hacen. He'll play it again. Lo que los seres humanos hacen.
Humanos hacen.
¿Su mano?
He says, everybody hears mano. There's a thing everybody hears. And it's great that he picked that out because everybody, mano, he must be talking about this, but it isn't that. Okay. Otra vez.
¿La mano de quién? Escuchemos
hand?
otra vez.
Lo que los seres humanos hacen.
And there was both what the words were and what the phonetic sound comes across
¿Su
as.
mano?
Una vez más.
¿La mano de quién? Escuchemos otra vez.
Lo que los seres.
Lo que los seres humanos hacen. Now, that's way easier to figure out when you see it written. And the words are separated, right? But what you see at the bottom is like a phonetic representation of how that actually hangs together and why it's so challenging for us to listen to native speakers speaking at a normal pace, fast-ish, yeah? Lo que los seres humanos hacen. Lo que, what? Los seres humanos, and there's what gets all slid together, los seres humanos. Ser is to be, ¿verdad? if we use seres as a noun, it means beings. Beings.
Right, so human beings.
Human beings, los seres humanos. And then he connects a little verb. So this is actually, well, a little more than a phrase. It's a shorty sentence. It's a part of a sentence. Lo que los seres humanos hacen. So that's how that slides.
Humanos hacen.
Ok, vamos a explicar qué ha pasado. Cuando una palabra termina en consonante y la siguiente comienza en vocal, en el habla conectada natural, esa consonante pasa a la siguiente palabra. Por eso no pronunciamos seres humanos, sino seres humanos.
Seres humanos. The seres, the S at the end of seres, beings, flipped over into the word humanos, seres humanos, right? And of course, you don't hear the H of humanos because we don't pronounce that, right? So los seres humanos.
Humanos se conecta con hacen y ahora tenemos seres humanos hacen.
So los seres humanos, humanos hacen. All of those connected. The S from humanos connected into the word hacen. So that's why it's really tough to hear what that means. And nobody's going to say those as separate words, but if you see it in a transcript, it of course will make more sense to you.
Cuando hay dos consonantes iguales, las dos se unen en una sola.
So
que
when
puede-
we've got two consonants that come up against each other, they blend together. And okay, he's got one other example because he breaks that down into something that's a little nerdier and more phonetic. But we want to hear one more phrase so that you can kind of piece that together and realize, no, you're not crazy when you think, gee, this seems fast. Okay, a ver. Okay. Oh, casi, almost. Okay.
Gloria.
Lo que los seres humanos hacen.
Pasemos a la siguiente frase. ¿Qué está diciendo el profesor Celorio?
Dicen o piensan.
¿Otra vez?
Dicen o piensan.
Dice no piensan, dice no says doesn't think. Okay, he's puzzling.
¿Quién dice que ellos no piensan?
Dicen o piensan.
La N de dicen se ha unido con O y por eso parece que está diciendo no. Escuchemos otra vez al profesor Celorio.
So the real verb was not dice, but dicen. And dicen, the N from the end of dicen is uniting or joining into the next word. And the next word is just O. So it sounds like dicen no. Dice no, but he's not saying dice no. It's dicen, they say, dicen no piensan.
Dicen o piensan.
Okay, dicen no piensan. They say or they think. Dicen no piensan. They say or they think. So those are just two little examples again of snippets taken out of speeches that show how we have to listen to a whole sentence and see how ideas do slide together and how challenging that can be. So, sí, así es difícil. It was probably a lot easier for you to get the songs that you listened to, ¿vale? ¿Verdad? And we'll see later on after our little reading, if you have any questions on the video and maybe have some conversation a bit on the video. Vale, entonces, quiero que ustedes practiquen conmigo un poquito la pronunciación y una buena manera de practicar la pronunciación es leer en voz alta, reading aloud. Reading aloud is always a great thing, and I wanted to give this to you ahead of time so that you could read it ahead of time, because these are some longish phrases. This is from an actual newspaper article, and it's condensed so that I could make it only a 2-pager for you. But we're going to take some turns. I'd like people to take some turns, and I'll kind of model. I want you to not try to read super fast like the guy you just heard on the video. I do want you to, again, focus on the vowels. And there may be some situations where actually I just want you to try to group some logical words together rather than running everything together. And I'll show you what I mean. So if I were to read this title to you aloud, those would be 2 words that would be natural to slide together, but also to not be saying as isolated words. Yeah. So these 2 words I would probably naturally group together when I read aloud. Australia introduce. Australia introduce. And the next group I would probably group together would be these 3. El derecho laboral. El derecho laboral. And then it would be natural to connect together these, a desconectarse. Okay. So all together would be Australia introduce el derecho laboral a desconectarse. But you can slow it down more than that. Y está bien, it's okay. So that title means Australia introduces the labor right to disconnect, or we might say the worker's right to disconnect oneself, to unplug. Yeah, see? Y el subtítulo aquí, I would group together naturally, si se aprueba la legislación, las empresas podrían enfrentar multas por penalizar a los empleados, ¿sí?, que no respondan a comunicaciones relacionadas, ¿ok?, con el trabajo, bien, fuera del horario establecido. Fuera del horario establecido. So you can say it more slowly, but it's a good idea to group together words that logically go together, like a subject and a verb, or a noun and the describer, the adjective that describes that noun. Or just a phrase like this, fuera del, yeah, and horario establecido. Okay, so the subtitle says, if the legislation is approved, businesses would be able to face fines, could face fines on account of penalizing employees who don't respond to communications related to work outside of an established schedule or established shift, established hours, right? Horario indica schedule, hours, your shift. Yeah. And horario is a great word to have in your hip pocket, your back pocket for everyday use, because we encounter horario when you walk into any kind of an office where they post el horario, the schedule, meaning when they're open, when their business hours are. Horario always alerts you to, in a store, what their business hours are, right? Horario, if you're talking to somebody on their way to work, might be related to the hours they work, the schedule they'll be in their particular place of work, right? Or horario might refer to when a relative or family member has things scheduled, right? ¿Sí? ¿Bien? Vale. Bueno, ¿alguien quiere leer esta parte? And don't feel you have to race.
Sure.
Just group them
Well-
together logically. Karen, ¿quieres empezar?
Okay. Cuando estén fuera del horario laboral y el jefe los esté llamado por teléfono, los trabajadores australianos que ya figuran entre los más descansados y satisfechos del mundo podrán pronto tocar la opción rechazar,
Rechazar, rechazar.
rechazar para dedicarse al
Dedicarse.
dulce llamado de la playa.
Sí, dedicarse, dedicate
Dedicarse.
themselves, work on. Yeah, dedicarse
Are they-
is used to dedicate oneself. It's used to talk also about what you do for a living sometimes. See, Karen?
Oh, are they using subjunctive there?
They are. And why do you
Why?
think? And they used it not once, but twice.
Yes.
One of the signals is this first word they lead off with, cuando.
When?
That's the big cue, the big little, the little red flag that starts to wave. And cuando estén fuera del horario laboral. Y el jefe, and here comes the second one, el jefe los esté llamando por teléfono. When they're out of their work schedule and the bosses are calling them on the phone, that's what that means. Is that talking about a habit or something that could happen?
It's a what if.
Sure.
It's it's kind of a what if. It's so this is not talking about what actually happens habitually all the time, but what could occur possibly, and that's why it's in subjunctive. That word cuando can do two things. Cuando can introduce plain old vanilla present tense verb, right? But if I were to change that to cuando están fuera del horario y los jefes, y el jefe los esté llamando, or los está llamando, if I change that to present tense, it would mean that this is something that is the pattern that happens a lot, all the time. You could like make it clockwork. It really happens, and it happens all the time. Cuando can use plain old present tense, and then it talks about a habit. Okay. Por ejemplo, cuando voy al supermercado, llevo mis bolsas para la comida. When I go to the supermarket, I bring my bags. But that's talking about what I always do all the time. See? Cuando mi esposo va a su oficina, siempre toma una copa de agua. He always takes a glass of water when he goes up to his office. That's a habit, but this is not a habit. This is for when something might happen. Okay. So cuando has two jobs, and when it's plugged into a subjunctive, that means we're talking about something that could possibly happen, but isn't actually going on right now. And certainly in this case, isn't a habit. Okay. So when you're outside of your office hours and the boss is calling on the phone, Australian workers who already have the position of being the most rested and satisfied workers in the world, see, podrán pronto tocar la opción rechazar. Could soon hit the reject button.
Yeah.
Hit the off button. Yeah. Rechazar formalmente es reject. Yeah. But it might come up on your phone as decline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Decline. Okay. So what that's talking about is not having to answer your phone, right? Could
Marilyn,
soon. Sí, bien, dime.
I'm sorry. I came across reclasar in an ad of all things in an Argentinian paper. I looked at it as reject.
Sí.
Would that be a proper?
Reject is exactly what rechazar means.
Okay.
Exactamente. Rechazar. Pero en el mundo de celulares, in the world of mobiles or
Right.
cell phones, yeah, that's often a term. The term that is often used is in English, cancel, decline,
Mhm.
decline. Yeah, see, bien. But rechazar formally does mean reject. So you can reject that call, which is what you're doing when, you decline to answer, right? But doing that, you can hit that reject button to dedicate yourself, to devote yourself to the sweet call of the
Playa.
beach, de la playa. Bien, ok, vale. Bueno, y aquí van a hablar de la ley que el Senado australiano va a revisar. ¿Sí? ¿Alguien quiere leer aquí?
I
And
will.
group together. Bueno, sí, Julie.
Okay. El Senado australiano aprobó el jueves un proyecto de ley que podría darles a los trabajadores el derecho a ignorar llamadas y mensajes fuera del horario laboral sin temor a represalias.
Bien.
Ahora, el documento regresará a la Cámara de Representantes para su aprobación definitiva.
Bien, sí. Excelente, excelente. Muy bien. So the Australian Senate approved on Thursday. Un proyecto de ley is a proposed bill. Yeah. A proposed bill that could give workers, and notice it's a redundant, darles a los trabajadores, because darles by itself might be, who do you mean by les? And here's who we mean, a los trabajadores. Could give them, the workers, the right to ignore calls and messages outside of their work schedule. Sin temor, without fear
Yes.
of reprisals, punishment. Yeah. See, represalias, without fear of getting the ding. Okay. Now the document will return to their legislative body. You know, Cámara is like our Senate and, their representative voting body, right? Cámara, not camera, but cámara. There's an old English word, camera, that talks about that. Okay. So it's going to return to their representatives. Bien. Aquí, un voluntario aquí. ¿Quién quiere leer? Bueno, sí, Jody.
El proyecto de ley permite a los trabajadores australianos rechazar comunicaciones profesionales no razonables fuera de la jornada laboral. Va a haber multas si las empresas castigan los empleados por no responder a ese tipo de demandas.
Muy bien, muy bien. And the only word we really want to tweak there was that word jornada. And that's a tough one to remember. That J always had the yeah? Jornada, jornada, see? Y jornada looks kind of like journal, but that's not what that means here, yeah? Jornada is a work day.
Yeah.
Yeah, a working day as opposed to a vacation day, weekend day, yeah, jornada. Okay, el proyecto de ley, so the bill permits Australian workers to reject professional or unreasonable, I'm sorry, not unreasonable professional communications outside of the work day. Work day is jornada laboral. Okay. Okay. And here they flip it into the future because it's not a done deal yet. You know, it's got to go through a couple of votes like our Senate and Congress has to do, similar kind of. So it's va a haber, va a haber, va a haber, va a haber. Instead of just there is or there are, va a haber, it puts it into the future. They're going to be. And here it's what is there going to be? Well, what they're going to be is multas, and that's fines. Yeah. Una multa can be a ticket that you get for parking or speeding. Yeah. Multa is a fine. They're going to be fines if companies punish. Castigar. Castigar is to punish. If they punish employees for not responding to these types of demands. Sí, Esteban, tienes pregunta.
Why are they not saying van a haber multas?
Because this is the impersonal use of the verb haber. So we always, hay multas, there are fines.
Sí.
Hay
and the business
una multa, hay varias multas.
sí.
It does not matter if you're using it in the idea of there is or there are, even though in English we have a distinction, there is, there are. Spanish does not have that distinction. If we're using that in the impersonal, there is, there are,
Singular.
it stays singular. So, hay multas, there are fines. Va a haber multas, there are going to be fines. Okay. Just like you're used to, hay dos bancos en el centro. There are two banks downtown. See? Hay muchas plazas muy bonitas en la Ciudad de México. There are lots of pretty plazas in the Ciudad de, yeah. See, so we use hay always with singular or plural.
Sí.
Okay, and this is the same thing. It's just that we're using it in that future construct. So that also has to stay singular. Like había for past stays singular. Yeah, había multas, there were fines. Meaning stuff got handed out for people to pay a fine. Lo mismo. Okay. Vale. Y aquí una cita. Here we have a quote from a big guy. ¿Alguien quiere leer? Anybody want to read? Well, sí, Esteban, sí. And you'll have to take yourself off.
Sí, número 2.
Número
Okay.
2, sí.
No se debe penalizar a alguien que no cobra 24 horas al día si no está conectado y disponible las 24 horas del día. Declaró el primer ministro Antonio, whatever, Albanese, en una rueda de prensa el miércoles.
Bien, vale, muy bien, muy bien. You shouldn't penalize somebody. No se debe penalizar a alguien. And note that alguien, penalizar a alguien You wouldn't hear a split between the alguien. It would all slide together there. No se debe penalizar a alguien. You shouldn't penalize somebody who's not covering 24 hours a day if they're not connected and available all 24 hours a day. And the important word for you to know and to actually put in your back hip pocket out of that is that word disponible, muy importante. There is a word that is super usable and super handy for everyday chit chat, okay? Declaró, not so handy. It's just a different way of saying dijo, he said, yeah? So when they quote people, they'll flip words like dijo for comentó, he commented, or respondió, he answered, or contestó, he answered, or declaró, he answered. They're just fancier ways of putting in a different word that means the same thing instead of saying dijo, 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 he said, he said. Okay, but this word disponible, sí, es muy útil. We use disponible a lot in stores to talk about people, to talk about things, to talk about what is available. Disponible, available. So whether you're talking about what's on the shelf or maybe a specific person in an office and you want to know if they are available, there's a word that you need to know when you're interacting with people in a formal setting. Disponible. Disponible. Available. Rueda de prensa. You don't need that for your conversation, but it's a good thing to know. These three words hang together.
Pues,
Raising.
Rueda de prensa. Rueda is a wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like on a car, see? Un carro típicamente tiene 4 ruedas, ¿vale? Bueno, pero una rueda de prensa has a specific meaning, and it's a press conference.
How does that become? Why aren't they using conferencia? How does a wheel turn into a conference?
Yeah.
Ni idea, Esteban, no lo sé. I don't know. But that is the term they use for press conference. You know, if you're standing up in front of micrófono, a microphone, it's rueda de prensa, yeah? So just, you know, that is the turn of phrase that is used to say a press conference, okay? And the only way you really know that is from this word prensa. Prensa means the press, yeah? But a wheel of press. What? Yeah, okay. Eso es un esfuerzo para reforzar los derechos de los trabajadores. La legislación había sido muy debatida. This is an effort to strengthen workers' rights. The legislation had been very debated. So even though it could be favorable for some people, it is debated. Había sido, had been. Okay, so it just didn't get passed through lickety split, no discussion. Había sido muy debatida. Bien, vale. ¿Quién quiere leer aquí? Van a hablar de muchos países que tienen una ley similar. They're going to talk about other places that do this same thing. ¿Hay alguien que quiere leer un poquito? Bueno, sí, Jan.
Australia sigue los pasos de países europeos como Francia, que en 2017
Bien.
okay, introdujo el derecho de los trabajadores a desconectarse de los empleadores mientras no estén de servicio. Una medida emulada después por Alemania, Italia y
Bélgica.
Bélgica.
Bélgica. Sí,
Bélgica.
eso. Muy bien. Muy bien, Juanita. Y europeos, you got that out really, really well. Europeos is actually a word we should be able to use fluidly, but it's hard for English speakers because it sure looks like European, but it sure isn't pronounced that way. Yeah, and that eu diphthong is very hard typically for English speakers. Europeos, and you did really super well with that very hard word. So Australia follows the steps of European countries like France, which in 2017 introduced the right for workers to disconnect from employers while they might not be working. Might not be in service, meaning might not be at work. And they used a subjunctive there, right? Because it's a hypothetical. Una medida emulada, a means or a measure emulated after, and then they name which countries have done it before them. Before Australia, Alemania, Germany, Italia, obvio sí, y Bélgica, Belgium. Ok. Bien. El mundo está conectado. The world is connected. Pero eso ha creado un problema, but that has created a problem. Declaró Tony Burke, ministro de Trabajo y Relaciones Laborales. Bien. Ok, vale. Adelante. Hasta Burke, hasta el nombre de Burke. ¿Alguien quiere leer un poquito aquí? Who wants to take a little turn? Bueno, pues sí, Federico.
Si tienes un trabajo en el que solo te pagan por las horas exactas que trabajas, algunas personas se encuentran ahora en la situación constante de tener problemas si no revisan sus correctos electrónicos. Añadió por es razonable que los empleadores se pongan en contacto con sus trabajadores para hablar de unos y otros asuntos, dijo, pero los trabajadores no deberían estar obligados a responder estos mensajes durante sus horas no compensadas.
Sí, bien. Okay, see, let's give ourselves a little moment to breathe here because you read a lot. I'll let you go through that last one there. And notice they softened this. No deberían estar obligados. Should not be obligated. That deberían makes it very soft. Instead of demanding, should. Or shouldn't, yeah? That no deberían puts it in conditional, which means it makes it very softened. Okay, Federico, if you want to finish that out, go for it. Sí, dale.
Durante la pandemia, cuando hubo cambios, el trabajo remoto, surgieron problemas con los límites entre la vida doméstica y la vida laboral.
Muy bien, excelente. And you caught your límites. Great job on that. Excelente. And the only one, and this is a very typical word for all of us to have trouble with, anything that's got a J or a G. English speakers struggle with because we're so used to that being a G or a J, a G or a J, anything with a J or a G. And here we've got a G and we got to think about, oh, wait a minute, what do I do with that? But it's a GI, so it's a G, right? GI is a G, GE is a G. So, surgieron. Think surge. when something surges, it does this. Yeah. It comes up. Okay, bien. So let's take a quick look at that. If you've got work in which they only pay you for the exact hours that you work, some people find themselves now in the constant situation of having problems if they don't check their emails. And check has many meanings in English. You might write a check to pay. You might check something literally, literalmente con una pluma. ¿Sí? Con una pluma, pum, 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 check. ¿Sí? Check has many meanings in English, but this revisar means to review, revise, look at very carefully. So here we probably would say check. If they don't check their emails, if they don't revise their email, look at their emails carefully. Si no, revisan sus correos electrónicos. Okay. Bien. It's, oh, and here we've got an impersonal phrase, which is why we've got a subjunctive. This es razonable que. Es razonable que. That, oh, notice we got the word que. Es razonable que. This is an impersonal phrase, just like es importante que. Es posible que. Es imposible que. Es urgente que. Anytime we've got an impersonal, meaning it starts with the word es, and then I've got some kind of little adjective word, es importante, es imposible, es posible que. It means I've got to use a subjunctive after that. So it's reasonable that employers put themselves in contact. So get in touch with. You would say get in touch with. But I can't use touch like tocar to say get in touch.
Get in
In
contact
Spanish.
or be in contact with their
Contact.
workers.
They could have used to just use contactar, sí. Yeah. Contactar, but they didn't. They chose to use this. Se pongan en contacto. Get in touch with employees. Oh, to do what? To do what? In order to, para, in order to do what? In order to talk about what? Turnos.
Yes.
Your turn. But because we're talking about bosses, talking about to employees, that turno is probably better interpreted as schedules, shifts. Shift. Es tu turno, it's your turn. Well, that's obvious, right? Es tu turno, es su turno. But hablar de turnos, when you're talking about the workplace, turnos usually refers to a shift when somebody is supposed to be covering the desk, the floor, wherever it is that they work, right? Para hablar de turnos, to talk about shifts y otros asuntos. Asuntos is a good general word. Asuntos. Asuntos means affairs, general matters, stuff. Yeah, asuntos. Asunto means some kind of vague topic, right? Okay, vale. And here they did have a dijo, he said. But workers should not be obligated to respond to these messages during their non-compensated hours, unpaid hours. Okay, and during the pandemic, when there was a switch to remote work, cuando hubo cambios, and this is an event that happened, it was a switch to remote work, changes to working remotely. Something happened with problemas. Problems did this.
They arose.
Arose, came up.
Yeah.
Yeah, came up. Problems came up. With what? With limits, okay, es obvio, but we would probably say with divisions between
Work life.
home life and work
Work life.
life. Yeah. Work. Yeah. Home, work, divisions, home. Yeah, that split. Okay. Vale. Muy bien. Alguien aquí. Muchas empresas. ¿Dónde? Hasta aquí. Alguien. Anybody want to take a turn? Un turno. Here it does mean turno. Literalmente. Bien, sí. Esteban, ¿quieres leer un poquito aquí? Muchas empresas.
Yo?
Sí, tú.
Oh, ok. Ah, muchas empresas se preocupan de que esto pueda dificultar el trabajo de las empresas. Ninguna de las medidas está diseñada para mejorar la I'm sorry,
No,
la
está bien.
productividad, el empleo, I'm having trouble seeing, el crecimiento, la inversión, las ingredientes de una economía próspera, señaló una senadora.
Ok. Y sí, el fin. Sí.
Los trabajadores ya tienen protecciones legales contra horarios laborales irrazonables.
Bien, sí. And that ya means already.
Sí.
Already. They're giving, they've given one side that workers don't want to be contacted outside of office hours. And now they're giving the flip side of that. Why this has been debated. They're giving the other side of the argument here. Many companies are worried that this could, subjunctive, because we don't know for sure yet, because it hasn't been implemented yet, that this could dificultar, how do you make difficult? Wow. This is making difficult a verb. It's making it an action. You can do that in Spanish. Yeah, just like you can facilitate in English. This is the opposite of facilitate. It's dificultar. This could make something difficult. Okay, and in English you would say make difficult, or maybe you would say complicate, perhaps. Okay, so this could make the work of companies difficult. Here's the other side of the argument. None of the measures, not even one of these measures is designed to improve what kind of stuff?
Productivity.
Productivity, employment, growth, and inversión. Inversión es investment. Yeah. I know it looks like inversion. Inversion means something. Well, does it? Yeah, it does. Yeah, you invert something. Turn it upside down, right? But inversión always means in Spanish investment. And this person who's giving this side of the thing says what these things are: productivity, employment, growth, investment, the ingredients of a prosperous economy. Economía próspera. Economía próspera. Señalar is to point out. Señalar means you take your finger and you do that. Señalar. Pointed out, one senator, workers already have legal protections against unreasonable
business hours, business schedules,
working hours. Yeah, see. Okay. And now, and this one, we've got a whole bunch of terms. These are terms that are really related to the workplace. So that's why I've got some words inserted there so that you know what they mean. Retribuidas means paid, and that's going to be a hard, I'm going to read this stretch because this one's a little bit challenging. It's a very long set of ideas. They're showing all the different benefits that workers in this place already have in place because they said, hey, they've already got protections, and now they're going to enumerate what those are. Okay. Los australianos ya disfrutan, they already enjoy, ya disfrutan de una serie de beneficios. They benefit from a series, or they enjoy a series of benefits. Como, como 20 días de vacaciones anuales retribuidas, 20 days of paid vacation. Okay, retribuidas paid. Licencia por enfermedad paga obligatorio. Obligatory sick leave. Yeah, bien. Here, licencia. Licencia can mean literally a license you put in your wallet for driving, but this licencia is leave, meaning your permission to go someplace, right? Or to do something. Permiso por servicio prolongado de 6 semanas para quienes hayan permanecido en una empresa al menos 7 años. Wow, this is a new one. Prolonged service leave if you're in a prolonged service category, and it's 6 weeks off for those who have remained at a company at least 7 years. Who gets a sabbatical out of after 7 years? Maybe if, wow, yeah, this is basically like talking about a sabbatical, what we would call a sabbatical. Yeah, most workers don't get something we call a sabbatical, yeah, but that's what that is talking about. 18 semanas de licencia por maternidad retribuidas. 18 weeks of paid maternity leave. God, I never got that either. Y un salario mínimo en todo el país de casi $15 la hora. And a minimum wage. Yeah, where we would plug in minimum wage. This is that word salario, salary. Minimum wage in the whole country of almost $15 an hour. Okay. Un poquito más, un poquito más. ¿Quién? Un voluntario aquí, alguien. Anybody want to take the last leg here?
Sure.
Bueno, okay,
Sure.
vale, Karen.
El país ocupa el 4º lugar del mundo en equilibrio entre la vida laboral y familiar, por detrás de Nueva Zelanda, España y Francia, según un índice de la Plataforma Mundial de Empleo Remoto. Estados Unidos, con un salario mínimo federal de 7 punto.
Siete con, that little con is often expressed as con, with.
Okay, $7.25 ocupa el puesto. Bueno, 53.
53, sí. Okay, so the country occupies 4th place in the world in work-life balance. Yeah. The term we use now is work-life balance, usually. But that word balance is usually expressed not as balance very much, but very, very much, very frequently as equilibrio. Equilibrio. And equilibrio can mean balance as in physically, your ability not to fall over sideways, or equilibrio can be this sort of, figurative, balance, in a more abstract sense. So, work-life balance, work-family balance, right? And they're behind, por detrás de, they're behind New Zealand, Spain, France, según un índice, according to an index on a platform, a world platform for, workers, and that it's just got that name, remote. Okay, United States.
Oh, that's the name of it? Is that why it's capitalized?
Oh, remote. Yeah, it's the name of it's the name of an employment site. I don't know if that's Australian, worldwide, EU, no lo sé. I don't know. Okay. United States with a minimum of $7.25 per hour. Yeah, we're number 53. We're number 53. Yay. Okay. Vale. Bien. Bueno, sí, el equilibrio entre la vida laboral y personal es un marcador cultural para los australianos, aseguró Jones. Vamos a la playa, paseamos y tenemos tiempo libre. This is a quote from whoever Senor Jones is, right? Balance between your work life and your personal life is a cultural marker for Australians. It's a culture thing. Yeah. We go to the beach, we stroll around, we take a stroll, paseamos, and we've got free time. Sí, Federico.
I got such a kick out of this article because I lived in Australia for 2 years.
Sí.
And the entire 2 years there, the Australians don't ever think that this is particularly unusual, but a common conversation is, "Hi, mate, where are you going on holiday?" And so everybody is going to Africa or London or, Spain, or maybe they're going to, who knows, but everyone's traveling somewhere. It's just expected.
Yeah. The difference in vacations, we in many other countries, we are seen as kind of the weirdos of the vacation world because
Absolutely.
they view us as you don't
They
get any.
follow us. Right.
Yeah. So, which, they're like, seriously, okay. Bien. Vale. Muy bien. Okay, you guys did really well on the vowels. Just a few bubbles, but on those things where we kind of expect some bubbles that we have to just, get over that and work it a little bit. Muy normal. Very normal stuff there. Hicieron bien. You guys did well, and you did well trying to blend things together. Fantástico. Quiero saber ahorita, I want to know right now, si tienen alguna pregunta. I want to know if you've got any kind of question about what this guy talked about. Y habla, bueno, de una manera de un empleo, pero un empleo muy especial, un empleo muy específico de alguien muy específica, somebody who is very specific person. Sí, bien. One thing you should know is that I think this only changed in the early 2000s. Military service for Spanish men was mandatory for everybody for many years. It was a mandatory thing. I think it was usually a 2-year stint, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 3, not more than that. But all guys had to serve in a draft of sorts, but all guys had to serve. I'm not quite sure. I think he was too young to be in the mandatory end of it, but I do know that he did some military service, which is why he has an interest in this subject. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Él habló de algo de la situación del entrenamiento de una persona muy especial de la futura reina en España. Bien. Ok. ¿Entendieron ustedes todo de este video o no? Karen.
Okay. No puede soltar su pelo. Can't let their hair down, or what?
Sí, soltar. Soltar is let go, but also let loose. So as in many people, I'm sure our military has similar rules. When you're on duty and you're a lady, the hair's got to be tied up. So they're talking about she has very long hair. She's a very pretty young lady, and she can't just leave her hair loose.
Okay. And then there was another phrase, Dama Cadete Bourbon. Does that refer to the family? The
That refers to the
Bourbon
family name. Sí, la dama Bourbon. Dama, of course, would be just a formal way to address somebody as lady, right? Formal. You see it on bathrooms sometimes, some places, right? Damas y caballeros, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros. Okay, so la dama Bourbon, Bourbon is her last name.
Okay.
Or as we anglicize it, the Bourbon family, which sounds like something you drink, but it isn't. That is the royal family that took over. Actually came in from France, but that's a whole different story. Yeah. Bourbon. That is her family name. Ustedes se dieron cuenta. Did you guys notice? See? Hay una situación, había, ahora no hay una situación interesante, pero había en el pasado, había una situación interesante en relación con la mamá de Leonora, la reina actual, la esposa del rey actual. ¿Sí? ¿Recuerdan? You remember what that thing was? They said it was algo polémico, something kind of controversial. En la historia, era por muchísimos años, era muy tradicional que una familia real, una familia de reyes y princesas y príncipes, y solo se casaron
Oh, yeah.
con otras familias reales. Y no fue así con su mamá, ¿sí? La mamá de Leonor fue una persona de la prensa. Fue presentador en la prensa, en el televisor, en las noticias. Her mom was like a female Cronkite.
Okay.
Yeah. Many years ago, and that why they call that polémico was that in the old days, antes, con su abuela, no, her grandma was from Greece, from a royal lineage family. So, the generation before, that was not, to marry the commoner thing was not done. But yeah, dad married a commoner. They had 2 very lovely children. There you go. The thing they didn't mention was the divorce with the first marriage. Oh, yeah. Ella sí también, la mamá de Leonor también se divorció, pero fue un matrimonio muy corto, de solamente 1 año, 2 años máximo. Y se divorció. So, there was a bit of a kerfuffle because she was divorced in addition to being a common person.
¿Había un problema con la iglesia?
Me imagino que sí, pero es el rey, es el rey.
Sí.
Y lo que quiere el rey, recibe el rey. There are ways to do the workaround. Yeah. Okay. I believe, no, was it no? No sé exactamente. Divorcio, no sé exactamente, pero polémico. A little bit of a controversy. So, okay. It would be sort of like seeing Katie Couric marry somebody who is the president, kind of that kind of situation. Vale, bueno, hay otra pregunta relacionada con el video o no? Anything else that you didn't quite get? Y tiene que servir tiene que servir en muchas fuerzas militares. ¿Bien?
Ujú. 4.
Por lo menos 3, sí.
Ah, 4. Creo que
eh,
sí, 4.
Sí, el ejército,
Ujú.
sí, la Fuerza Aérea, Air Force, ¿bien?
Sí.
Ah,
La Armada,
la
Navy,
armada.
Navy.
4,
Wasn't it 4?
Army, Air Force,
And
Navy.
there was another, Marines.
Oh, quizás, pero relacionada con la Armada. I think that's all tied in with the whole naval thing. Okay, bien, bien. Bueno, adelante, adelante. Quiero preguntarles, I want to ask you this, and this, we're taking this off the cuff.
Mm, mm.
Bien, bien. Quiero saber qué opinan. I want to know what you guys think. ¿Qué opinan? ¿Qué opinan? ¿Para qué sirve la monarquía? ¿Para qué? No tenemos monarquía aquí en Estados Unidos,
Ujú.
¿sí? Para las personas que nacen en Estados Unidos, yo creo, opino, opino que la idea de una monarquía es algo muy abstracto. Es difícil entender de como cosa de una cultura, porque no tenemos cultura de monarquía, nada de eso. Entonces, ¿para qué sirve la monarquía? ¿Para qué sirve? ¿Sí? Como en el año, como en el año 1200, 1200, bueno, fue muy claro el trabajo de un rey, ¿sí? De gobernar un país. Pero ¿para qué sirve en los tiempos modernos? ¿Para qué sirve la monarquía?
No sé. La historia.
Sí,
Sirve la historia.
Ok, vale, sí, sí.
sí,
Ah,
y ahora yo creo que no hace nada importante.
Sí.
entonces, ¿es una posición para ceremonias?
Sí,
Sí.
Bien.
eh,
No, no
Sirve.
es political.
No tienen trabajo realmente político, por lo general, por lo general. No tienen el poder de un viejo rey en la historia, por lo general. Sirven como símbolo de la
Sí.
nación,
sí,
Ujú.
¿bien?
es
¿Sí?
ceremonial.
Así, bueno, ok. A ver, estamos de acuerdo entonces de que sirve de ser un símbolo de un país, de la unidad de la gente del país, para estar asistir a ceremonias, sí, sí, cortar, sí, las cinturas, cut those ribbons, sí, eso. Ok,
Ujú,
vale. ¿Cuáles son las desventajas? Desventajas es disadvantages.
sí.
¿Cuáles son las desventajas de tener una monarquía?
Pues,
Es expensivo. Es caro.
¿Cómo se dice it's
cuestan-
expensive?
Es caro.
Es caro,
Es caro.
Cuesta mucho dinero
cuesta mucho dinero
para la government. I don't know. Government? I don't know how to say government. Government.
Gobierno.
para gobernar, sí,
Gobernar.
sí. Es costoso,
Costoso.
cuesta mucho dinero en
sí, sí.
Inglaterra, ¿no?
Ujú.
Ujú,
Sí.
Cuesta como millones de dólares o millones
Sí.
de libras inglesas. es una desventaja si tú tienes que pagar los impuestos, ¿verdad? Ok.
Mhm.
Hay otras desventajas con la monarquía. Para un rey típico, una reina típica, ¿hay desventajas? Sí. Tienes un palacio, quizás tienes muchos palacios, bien, muchas casas, ok, mucho dinero, es ventaja, that's an advantage, pero ventajas, creo que una desventaja también para la monarquía es que siempre hay curiosidad por la parte del público. Hay mucha atención con la prensa, ¿sí? Hay muchos fotógrafos que siempre te toman la foto, ¿sí? Y si tienes el dedo en la nariz o cualquier cosa, sí, están tomando fotos. Sí, Esteban.
Sí, sí. Puedes decir, eh, eh, um, ellas toman demasiado tiempo en la prensa.
Sí,
¿Sí? ¿No?
sí, sí. La prensa se dedica mucho espacio en los periódicos o en las noticias con lo que hace el rey, lo que hace la princesa, lo que no hace la princesa, dónde está la princesa, qué pasa con la princesa, está enferma la princesa. ¿Por qué está enferma la princesa? Es así, 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 continuamente, ¿no?
Sí, es
Sí.
una locura.
Y nos importa.
Sí, no.
Y
No
nos
me
importa.
importa.
No nos importa tanto. Pero aquí en Estados Unidos, para mucha gente, les importa y quieren leer dónde está la
That's
princesa.
right. That's right.
A mí qué me importa. No sé. No sé, pero para mucha gente sí les interesa mucho, les interesa mucho. Ok, bueno, tengo otra pregunta aquí. ¿Debe servir más gente? Should more people serve? ¿Debe servir más gente en las fuerzas militares como algo obligatorio?
Yeah.
Porque todo el mundo no sirve en las fuerzas
Sí,
militares
sí,
aquí en
sí.
Estados Unidos, todos no sirven, a menos que haya guerra, ¿sí? En 1941, 1900, ok, vale, sí, había mucha gente que sirvieron como obligatorio porque estábamos en guerra, ¿no? Pero ahora no tanto. ¿Debe servir más gente?
Ah,
Mm.
muy difícil.
Es difícil. Mucha gente dicen que muchas personas sugieren que todos podamos servir, quizás no en las fuerzas militares, pero que todos podamos servir de alguna forma, ¿no? ¿Cómo? ¿Cómo podríamos servir? How could we ask people to serve?
Con el pobre.
¿Con los
Gente,
pobres? Quizás sí.
Oh. Yes. Hmm.
um,
Con-
con las enfermedades.
Sí, en el servicio médico sería posible, ¿sí?
En las escuelas de niños, en las escuelas de niños,
En
sí.
escuelas, sí. Sugieren que muchos sirvan en escuelas como maestros. Bien, sí, sí tienen la paciencia. Si tienen la paciencia. Eso es. Ok, vale. Bueno, ok. A ver, otra cosa ¿qué aprenden los que sirven en las fuerzas militares? Para Leonor es obvio, porque ella va a ser reina y tiene que saber algo de las defensas de su patria, de su país. Pero creo que, creo que la gente puede aprender a colaborar
Ujú.
con mucha gente, ¿sí? Creo que aprenden a colaborar con otra gente con un propósito, ¿sí? For purpose. Con la gente que vienen de otras partes del país, que vienen del sur, que vienen de Nueva Inglaterra, New England, ¿sí? Que vienen de California o algo así. Creo que vale la pena. Ok. Si tuvieras que servir, ¿en qué parte del militar querría participar? If you had to serve and you don't. If you had to. Si tuvieras que servir, if you had to serve, ¿en qué parte del militar querría participar? Uy, yo querría
En
ser
el,
piloto.
¿cómo se dice? De la agencia o de nueva, what is it? Space,
El
Astronauta.
espacio. La agencia del espacio como NASA o
well,
algo
it's
así.
the
Space Force.
new,
Space
not
Force.
agency, but the
Las,
new part, you know, you have the
sí,
Navy, and then Trump started the, whatever they call it, the space.
como fuerzas del
Space Force.
espacio.
Sí.
Sí, fuerzas del espacio. Sí.
Oh, okay.
¿Qué hacen las fuerzas del espacio? No sé, astronautas, no sé. Bueno, yo querría ser pilota. Pilota con aviones.
Quizás con NOAA,
Mm,
con
that's a good
el
one.
clima.
Con FIMA. Sería muy interesante. Sí, sí, sí. Para ayudar después de los desastres naturales.
Y también me gusta trabajar en una agencia de Estado del mundo, en otros países, ¿cómo se dice? Empresarios,
Sí, embajada,
embajada.
embassy, sí, en el servicio, sí, de diplomático, en el servicio diplomático.
El
Bien,
Departamento de Estado. Okay.
Departamento de Estado, perfecto, perfecto, excelente, bien. Sí, tendrías la oportunidad de viajar, obviamente, de interactuar con otras culturas y otros gobiernos. Sería muy interesante, me parece que sí. Bien. Bueno, algo más.
Y,
Sí.
y me gustaría ser ingeniero electrónico.
Sí. Y necesitan mucha ayuda de ingenieros
Ujú.
en las fuerzas militares. Sí, es muy útil, muy útil. Vale, bueno, otra cosa. Anything else? ¿Otra cosa? o ya no? Okay, vale. I want to show you just a bit of what I'm going to send you for, we've got a week off. So something for the coming week. And actually, I had not planned this originally, but this kind of a video came up within a week of my seeing this article. You may have seen this if you get the Arizona Republic, because this came from the Arizona Republic. No Sabo Kids. And lo and behold, within 7 days before I read this article, yes, there was a video, which you are going to get the link to this. And what's the title? What are No Sabo Kids? Oh, and how do they speak Spanish? No Sabo Kids. This comes from it is a moniker, No Sabo Kids, from insult to badge of pride. And I can tell you that I had some No Sabo kids in some of my classes, because there are a lot of kids where we live who are in a family, but they're already third generation. A lot of them, maybe second generation, sometimes even third generation. And you know, the pressure for them in a family that originally came from Mexico to speak Spanish and understand their relatives is a real pressure. It is a pressure. And I would have some kids and they know words, but you know, kind of disconnected, separate words, and they can talk a little bit. And some of them do extremely well, and some of them kind of struggle. And some of them, you know, after they've had an actual class, they're like, thank God, now I know what Aunt Carmen just said at the Christmas family reunion. I had no idea what she's been talking about since I was 5 years old. So it's interesting that this is something that's coming up really because of very natural immigration patterns. You know, the pressure to learn English is, of course, there for good employment for kids. And some of them lose touch with some of those roots. But the video you're going to get connected to that is in a similar vein. It talks about actually boo-boos that these kids make and how they can fix them. And yeah, how anybody can fix it so that they can connect a little bit better with their family and their heritage and all of that. Y todo eso. Bien? So that's what you'll have for our week off, since we won't have class. I do want to leave with one great video, though, because this is a video that talks about different words that are used. And this is a good one because it's a conversational thing, and I'm going to let this roll. Es muy útil. It's very useful because these are terms that we use a lot. How to say meat, but meat is not just one thing in Spanish, and meat depends on, is it formal? Is it informal? Did it happen in the past? Is it the first time only, a one-time shot? What is meat? And how do you say that? And it won't necessarily just be encontrar. You know, you look up meat and you'll find the word encontrar, but it won't necessarily be just that. Okay. A ver, aquí.
To meet in Spanish. In this video series, How to Say in Spanish, we look at those phrases which can be difficult to translate from English to Spanish, and we find the best translations and the most natural way to say things in Spanish. It's aimed at intermediate to advanced Spanish learners, although if you're a beginner, you'll still find it really useful. I'm Rob from Spanish Obsessed, and Liz will be helping us out with her beautiful native Spanish.
Hola!
So, to meet with someone, how do we say this in Spanish? Well, when you think about it, in English, when we say meet, there are two different possible meanings, and depending on what we want to say, that can actually help us choose the best translation in Spanish. In English, you can meet someone for the first time. So you could say, for example, I first met my wife 9 years ago, or we first met in the cafe. Or you could meet someone you already know for a coffee, meal, or whatever. For example, let's meet tomorrow for lunch. So let's start with that meaning for meet, for when you meet someone for the first time. And the verb we use in Spanish is
conocer.
And don't forget,
Conocer is meet for the first time. Yeah, because conocer has the connotation of to get familiar with, and that can mean to get familiar with a place, a geographic location, yeah, something you can find on the map, or more usually than that, with people. So when you meet somebody for the first time, you never knew them before, that specifically needs to be that verb conocer, always.
Yeah, when you talk about a person, so when a person is the object of the verb, we need to use what's called the personal a. So we use conocer a. Conocer a una persona. And when you think about it with this meaning of conocer, you're almost certainly going to be talking about a point in the past. So we'll use the preterite past tense for a specific point for when you first met someone. I met is...
Conocí a...
Let's try a couple of phrases. I met my wife 9 years ago. 9 years ago is hace 9 años. My wife is mi esposa. And then string it all together.
Conocí a mi esposo hace 9 años.
Bien, okay. So you'll generally hear conocer for meet used as preterite most of the time, because that's the meaning. It means a one-time thing, right? Conocí a mi esposo, conocí a mi esposa, hace 9 años, hace 9 años is the 9 years ago. Hace 10 años, hace 30 años, lo que sea, whatever it might be, ¿sí? Bien. Or en el año, if you want to name the year, right? En el 1992, lo que sea, whatever it might be. You might name a year as well. But
let's try another one. We first met last week.
Nos conocimos la semana pasada.
So you use conocer with that sense of meeting someone for the first time. But what about just meeting someone, let's say, for coffee? Well, there are a few ways, again, of saying meet with this sense in Spanish. And again, they all have different subtleties. So let's start with encontrarse con. We use this for more of a chance meeting. Think of like when you bump into someone.
Encontrar, and encontrar becomes reflexive here. And it needs that little con. And that is very casual, meet up with somebody and kind of not expecting it, right? Really, really super casual.
So, for example,
ayer me encontré con Ana en el parque.
Yesterday I met or I bumped into Anna in the park.
So yeah, often we say bumped into, but you don't mean that when you say bump into, right? You mean something that was by chance, right? A brief encounter by chance, right? So I met up with her, I bumped into her. That is encontrarse con, generally. Encontrarse con. Ayer me encontré con.
The next one is reunirse. So this is to meet in the sense of gather together.
Vamos a reunir a todos los trabajadores mañana.
Now, this is not bump into. Yeah, reunirse has a subtle shift. It still means meet up with, get together with, but it's more like with a plan in mind. Yeah, reunirse is more with the plan in mind, not by chance. Vamos a reunir a todos los trabajadores.
We're going to get all of the workers together, so meet in the sense of get together tomorrow. The next one is juntarse. Again, this is used in the sense of get together, but it's probably a little less formal. So think of like hang out, like the way.
Yeah, oh, juntarse, a good way to use that, yeah, hang out is a good term in English. So very informal, right? And it can be used still for a workplace setting, but juntarse often has a less formal kind of connotation.
I don't know, kids hang out in the shopping center or whatever.
Los jóvenes siempre se juntan en los centros comerciales.
So that means the kids always hang out or get together in the shopping center.
Yeah, but not natural. Juntarse doesn't necessarily mean that it's organized. Yeah. Yeah. Reunirse has kind of an organized feel to it, right? Encontrarse does not have an organized feel with it. Juntarse does not have an organized feel to it all the time. It might, but likely not.
It's all, what do you say in America, in the malls. And our final verb is quedar. And this is probably the
Quedar comes back. Quedar comes back.
one which you would use most of the time. It's just meet in the sense of casually meet for coffee or for a meal or whatever.
¿Quedamos a las 8 mañana?
Shall we meet tomorrow at 8?
This is a comment that quedar comes back. Yes, because quedamos a las 8. Shall we get together at 8? Even though I know quedar formally means to remain. Quedamos when we conjugate it for yo, tú, nosotros. It's often when we pair it up with a time in particular, or maybe a place, a location, very, very, very often, this is going to have the meet idea with it. Quedamos a las 8 mañana. Shall we meet at 8? Shall we agree on 8 o'clock for getting together? Quedamos a las 8.
Then, if it's phrased as a question, or it could just mean we meet or we'll meet tomorrow at 8.
¿A qué hora quedamos el viernes?
What time we getting together on Friday? ¿A qué hora quedamos? ¿A qué hora quedamos el viernes?
This means what time do we meet on Friday? Word of warning with quedar is to not get this mixed up with quedarse. They obviously sound
This is not like quedarse. Notice this is just quedar by itself, not quedarse. Quedarse is to stay in a place. Generally, it has other meanings too, of course, but most generally.
very similar, but they do have different meanings. Quedarse with the se, the se on the end, that means to stay.
Nos quedamos en el restaurante.
We stay or we stayed in the restaurant. Whereas to meet, you don't have the se, the se ending.
Quedamos en el restaurante.
So, yeah, quedamos en el restaurante is not we stayed, it's we met up. We met up at the restaurant. We met in the restaurant.
We meet or we'll meet in the restaurant. So quedarse is to stay, quedar is to meet. All right, quick summary then. When you meet someone for the first time, that's when you use conocer. Encontrarse a is to meet in the sense of bumping into someone. Reunirse is to get together. Juntarse is also meet as in get together. And finally, quedar, this is probably what you want to use most of the time. That means to meet as in a planned meeting for coffee, for a meal, whatever. But don't get it confused with quedarse, the reflexive verb, which means to stay. So that is how you...
So all those verbs for meet, but you know, the nuances are kind of, they're subtle, aren't they? They're pretty subtle. So I'll send you the link for that. Es súper útil. It's super, super useful because we talk about meeting up with people all the time. Todo el tiempo. Sí. Bien. Todo bien. All good?
Okay.
All good. Son las 7:30.
Bueno.
I don't want to take too much time over because I know a lot of you have things you're going to be wanting to do, to get to for the rest of your evening. Y muchísimas gracias a todos. Many, many thanks to all of you. You have made for a really wonderful winter session. I hope to see you back first week of April. Sí, la primera semana de abril. El 1 de abril es el primer día de todas las clases de primavera con Scottsdale. Bien. Y vale, so you will not get an email from me next week, but you will get a follow-up email tomorrow morning with all these links that we used today. ¿Sí? ¿Todo bien?
Gracias.
Gracias.
Sí,
Todo
bueno,
bien. Muchísimas gracias a ustedes. Ustedes son muy, muy amables. You guys are super, super nice.
Gracias.
But
Gracias.
I'm really glad you don't
gracias a
have to.
todo.
Sí, I'm really glad
Semana
you don't.
vacaciones.
Oh, sí. Oh, sí. Vacaciones. No voy de vacaciones. Estoy aquí para reparar la casa. Next week is sawing the tile week.
Buena suerte, buena
Moving
suerte.
the furniture.
Plumbing is
Yay.
okay now.
Throwing out accumulated junk from 20.
Oh, that. But you got the plumbing figured out.
I got the plumbing figured out.
Just a little money. That's it. That's your vacation.
I'm spraying a little Moldex, ripping out a little bit of carpeting, and they can rip out the rest. I'm too
Oh,
embarrassed for them to see the truly gross part. So that part I am ripping and spraying. Fun.
Adios.
have fun.
All right.
Gracias.
Nos vemos. Nos vemos.
Sí, nos vemos
vemos,
pronto. Nos vemos pronto.
Hasta 2 semanas. Sí.
See,
Adiós.
yeah, okay, yeah. So I'll take care of all those very unpleasant things during my time off, and thankfully you don't have to listen to sawing of tile. I remember I've only had that done. Well, no, I have had it done twice. I had 2 separate tile jobs. It's loud.
Oh, God. Well, good luck. Oh.
There will be little corridors inside of our house for the next week.
Mhm.
Little corridors with all the furniture, because our furniture is like around 100 years old. It's quite our bedroom furniture.
Wow.
And that means it's real wood.
Ah, so it's real heavy.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
Those poor men who have to move that furniture, they do not know what they are in for. I pity the man.
No IKEA stuff, huh? Oh,
No
God.
IKEA stuff. No, not
Oh.
in that room, sadly. But I am clearing out much old junk. You know, you save that last thing and it's like, why am I saving this thing?
Mhm.
And you feel bad because in some cases it's an heirloom, but you know, it's not such an heirloom when it's yellow and maybe a 40-year-old Holy Communion veil. Who is going to wear this thing?
Right. Yeah, right.
And of
When
course,
no one wants it. Yeah.
yeah, if my sister saw that I have just thrown this away, she would be having fits. But you know what? No one is going to touch that.
Yeah.
And if I save it for my children and they carry me feet out of the door, they're going to be saying, why did she save this thing?
Right. Yeah.
Because why?
Well, say what my mother used to say about my father. What he doesn't know won't hurt him. And she would throw away his stuff because they're both kids of the Depression.
Yes.
He would save things in the garage, and my mother thought if you didn't use it in a year, you're not going to use it unless it's a coat or something. I mean, but this was Southern California. Yeah, so she would cart out stuff, just before the garbage men came. My father never once said, hey, where's that piece of board I've been said? Never once in his life.
Yeah.
So,
Sadly, that is true. Although, bless my husband, bless him. I had some of the things were water damaged from that pipe break, and I just tossed those because they were gross. They had to go. But he still had 3 boxes of books, and he went through those 3 boxes as keep, give away. And it was a half and half. I commend him.
Yeah.
So the library resale is getting the other half.
Uh-huh.
And I found homes for the other half. And some of those things, even though I absolutely hate to throw away books, but you do get an overload. And if you're not going to read it ever, it's time to go.
Yeah. So, I know I have some books that sentimental, and it's hard to get. I'm a reader. So yeah.
I had a couple of things that were sentimental from college, but you know what? It was like, haven't touched it in 20 years. I'm sorry. It needs to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe somebody will read it and use it, and yeah. God, I know.
It will serve for something more than sitting on my shelf collecting dust, and then I have to be the one to dust it. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, enjoy your week. Enjoy your week. Yes.
Yes.
I know we just got some more rain.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I have the headphone. I wouldn't hear if we had it on the oh no, you know what? I would have heard it because actually when it rains, I've got a skylight directly over me. So when it rains hard, you can hear it on the microphone. If it rains hard enough.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear it tonight. So if we got anything, it was super light.
Yeah, I think ours was pretty light, but I know we had lightning just a couple miles away, and Unbelievable though. Today was 80 degrees and sunny, and I went to Trader Joe's and everything looked fine. And then it's like all of a sudden this big dark cloud with
Yeah.
a line, almost like the tornado thing.
It looked very much
You
like a
know?
Charlie Brown kind of cloud, didn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm hoping it stays clear for Thursday. Thursday, I want to get on the bike, and it can rain any other day, just not Thursday. It was very interesting getting rained on Sunday though, because we thought we
yes.
were going to beat it, and by golly, we did not, and we got pelted. So,
Were you out at McDowell Ranch?
at McDowell Regional Park.
Regional Park, yes.
Now, fortunately, it did not rain so hard that we got the bikes all muddy. That didn't happen. Because when you have to clean all like the mud and the clay,
Yeah.
that's a very unhappy situation. And so that we're not stuck with that, but we did get a little bit soaked. So yeah, always rains on the weekend, right? So
Yeah. I don't know. It's been raining every day up here, so I
and
don't
we
know.
had thunder. We had thunder and lightning. Was it yesterday or the night before?
Mhm.
Was it Monday or yesterday? We had some thunder, and it was thunder for like a long time. I was kind of shocked. So
Yeah, I know we're up to 4.3 inches up here for the year.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Since
I
January.
expect it to be.
Wow. That's a lot. That's really good. Okay, so we must be pretty close to that,
Mhm.
because we're just on the other side of the mountains there, and we often get what you have, but not always. So, okay. Yeah.
Well, you take care. Good luck. I'll think about you tearing up
Thank you.
clothes and yeah.
Yeah. I'll be working those boxes, boy, let me tell you. So, okay. Well, you
All
have a
right.
good evening.
Yes. See you in a couple of weeks.
See you then.
All
Okay.
right. Bye-bye.
Hasta luego.